Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Who's That Anime. We've finally done it. We got through Chargeman Ken in record time. Now we're talking about Pluto, which is far superior in every way from Chargeman Ken. No one's going to be making fun of this anime. Not even the
Nope.
Japanese.
Nope.
And,
They shouldn't.
and the live action that they had. That was a weird live action play.
Yes.
Of the suicidal bomb one, well.
You are correct. That was very unusual, shall we say.
There's like 5 Chargeman Kens,
What a show.
one sister, one robot. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're not here to talk about that anymore.
No. We're here to talk about something really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, starting off with this one.
Mhm.
But you were so excited to tell everyone that we'd finished Chargeman Ken, you did not introduce us.
Oh, well, we don't need any introduction anymore. We're 163 episodes in. You know who we are. It's Steve and Colin. Your
That's
lovable
us.
hosts.
We are lovable.
I think we're lovable.
That is for sure.
I like to say we're lovable.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, I think we spoke a little bit about this before, and I was saying that I was sure that this was based on the works of the author of Astro Boy, Osamu Tezuka, and obviously it screams of it in terms of its style. But it turns out it's just based on that. I think we identified that in a previous show too. Interestingly, this obviously started off as a manga series, as they normally do. I think it ran from 2003 to 2009. Sold a shitload of copies, 8.5 million copies.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is cool, like really cool. And the other part of this that I don't think I ever really appreciated is it's written by the same guy as Monster.
All right. We're going to get through this then.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Because how many times have you tried to watch Monster?
So many. I've read it now, and I love it, but for some reason I just cannot get through it. And I don't know why that is, but that's a thing that I have for some reason struggled with. At least I'm pretty sure it was the same guy that did Monster. I looked at this. Yeah, it's written and illustrated by Naoki Urasawa. And yeah, he did Monster, which is another big hit for him. He basically came off the back of that in 2001, 2 years in between, and then came back with this, and also sold crazy amounts with this. So very, very cool. It also seems that the rights to this as a live action production were sold in 2010, but nothing's ever been done about it.
Well, I don't know. Live action.
There's a play.
Oh, back to
There's
the play.
a stage show. There's a stage show.
Is it better than Chargeman Ken's play?
It does not review as well as the show, shall we say?
Oh, okay.
But I I'm really excited to talk about this because this is the shit I love. Like this was so unique and interesting and fascinating to me. Like for something, I think the first episode is like 70 minutes, give or take. It's like an hour and 10.
Oh, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot happens in that hour and 10.
Yeah, there is. There is. So
starting off with a big fire in the middle of a mountain range in a forest.
Does it start there? I think it might,
Yeah. It starts with the forest, and it starts with a scientist running in, screaming about his how his boy has been injured. Something's wrong. Something's happened to him.
Yeah, and
It's very confusing.
he's offline. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see as the kind of camera pans along the impact crater of what it looks like's happened. There is the head of a robot that we'll come to find out is called Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
And it has it's like in between tree branches or something that are kind of forming a V out of his head.
Yeah.
Really gorgeously animated and looks incredible.
It's got the money.
Sounds incredible so far. Yeah. It's super, super nice already.
I don't know. I mean, you know how we talk about bonus episodes being palate cleansers?
Yeah.
I mean, Ken certainly was a palate cleanser.
Yes. Yes.
In more ways than one.
It took my palate and it destroyed it, and I'm now building it back up.
Yeah.
You know. It's important.
Yeah. So there's that. So there's fire, there's a head, then it cuts into a dream sequence of someone looking at a pile of blood. And then wakes up. Seems like it's this guy wakes up and goes, "Oh, I had that dream," type thing. And then his wife comes in and says, "Oh, you've been overworked. We should go on a holiday." He's like, "No, I can't. I'm okay." Then he sits down for breakfast, sees the Mont Blanc news coverage, turns it off, then sticks his fingers in his ears because that's how he gets calls.
Yep.
And he's got a new job.
And we learn very quickly that he is not specifically human, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, I think like my immediate reaction is, of course, he has a wife, he has a home life. She's talking about how he's overworked. He's a robot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, those are not things I associate with robots.
I don't think we'll really learn that until a bit later after he leaves the kitchen. Because he goes, I think we should go on a holiday. It's like, wait, and his wife's taken aback with it. That's not like you.
I must admit, I immediately knew that this was the case because I was like, no, he's probably a robot because he's just listening to a call in his head and it's not an earpiece that he's just had in all the time.
Oh,
fair point.
They're in the future. Maybe they got these implants.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe. You're right.
But I
made the assumption.
I also knew it because I saw the trailer where he's identified as a robot. It's like, oh. And then it's like, wait, is he a robot? Because this is kind of human. Like, anyway. So this goes to work as a detective. He's a detective. And he's been called to a homicide. And he walks in and basically starts picking up some of the crime scene. And then the police man in charge of the scene is like, "Hey, stop messing with my scene of crimes." And then his assistant goes, "I think this is the guy we called for." "Oh, right, yeah, we were expecting him."
So sorry about that.
Yeah. And then we're going to check to see if anything's stolen because, well, the place is pretty much a bomb site. Like, the walls are cracked and everything's beaten up. And he goes, "No, from what I can see, nothing's been stolen. This is straight up murder, pretty much." And
essentially, this is the home of Bernard Blanc, who is basically kind of an advocate for robot rights. And which is a significant murder you might lead to believe in these circumstances. So
his head is buried in what looks like a girder of some sort, which is bent up the way to form horns.
Yep. Suspiciously, the same kind of horns that Mont Blanc had.
Yeah, and then they make this link to that, and it's like, well, that's a bit of a far fetch to go on, but
because the thing is, I guess, like it's probably worth pointing out is that the Mont Blanc incident happened in Switzerland. This seems to take place in Europe, effectively, and I believe this must be in Germany, so it's not very far away from from Switzerland, not as
Or-
far away as say in America or Japan.
Or the
So,
Alps, yeah.
yeah, and I think the police agency he is with is Europol, so kind of like an Interpol placeholder.
Yeah, yeah. So he kind of speculates that, and then they get a call in that found a suspect, and he's attacked some dudes at a checkpoint, which because they obviously barricade the roads,
Yep.
and they go down, see that there's one guy a human injured, and his robot counterpart friend is also murdered.
Robbie.
Robbie
Is his name. Robbie the robot.
Robbie the robot, yeah.
He's like a robot constable, and yeah, he's been messed up. Sadly,
Yeah.
he didn't make it.
Yeah. And then they get a call in and says, "Oh, suspects down in Old Town." And this is where I realised that he is a robot, because he just straight off leaps off like the highway, which is like
A good 50, 60 feet up.
a good flyover over the city, and just legs it, because they're like,
I do like his exit. He's just like, well, gotta go.
"Yeah, let's do it. I'm doing this." And then the police say, "So what? What are you doing, madman?" And then he tries to send the suspect into like an old church or something.
Yeah,
And
very cool sequence in there, I think, as well. He like identifies that the guy is strung out, having just taken drugs at a certain time.
40 minutes ago.
Yeah, and like presupposes like, oh, I kind of see how this went, you know. And then what is he like? Kind of tries to. He thinks he's convinced him to. No, he just basically charges him. He charges Gesicht, and he's having none of it, and just stands fast. Takes a big swipe with the pipe and smashes Gesicht right upside the head. And just in case you were ever wondering, I wonder if he's a robot. After taking a phone call on his head and jumping off a flyover, he is, because he just took a steel pipe to the head and it did not faze him in the slightest.
Yeah, not to mention that he transferred his hand into a gun.
He did also do that, yeah.
At the door.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that's another question in between. Is like he did also transform his hand into a gun, which is cool as fuck. It's real cool.
Yeah. So he comes in and kind of reasons right. It's like I know all about the stuff. I've worked out why you done it. If you come in and without any further incident, then we're not going to do this. And then he kind of disarms him, and then the guy says, "Oh, you're going to shoot me?" And it's like, "No, I can't. It's just robot protocols won't let me do that." But it's sleeping gas.
Can't kill you. Can't kill you, sadly. I can kick the shit out of you, which he does.
I don't know. He just disarms him, puts him to sleep.
He gives him a good punt in the side, which is awesome.
I mean, that's disarming the guy.
Yeah.
And then I think it cuts to just to cut to him making the call to Robbie's wife, because Robbie has a wife.
He does, yeah.
Which,
Again, I think this is just like world building here is really cool. There's lots of gorgeous shots of the city and lots of mystique around the world. Like, you know, we're talking about like Mont Blanc is described as this kind of hero robot that everybody loved, and you know the kind of sadness that swept the nation since his death is significant. And you know, like we're saying, is like here's Gesicht, who is a robot who has a home life with what seems to be a human woman, maybe not. But here we find, you know, that he is now going to contacting Robbie, the robot constable's wife, who is just she's a kind of a maid droid looking thing.
Oh, yeah. She's just basically what you expect a kind of robot would look like. Very robotic. So is Robbie, though. Look very robotic with his head mashed in by the pipe.
It's very like you're totally right. It's very interesting. Like, you know, you have Gesicht and his wife were a very different look, and then obviously you have Robbie and his wife, very very obviously robotic.
Yeah. So so he goes there and breaks the bad news, and she's like, "Oh, right, I'm a maid type thing. Works housewife kind of looks like a maid.
Yep.
Kind of looks like the maid from the Jetsons.
The Jetsons, yeah.
Uh, a
A
little
little
bit,
bit.
not so square, more rounded.
No. Yep.
Um, and he then kind of like offers her like, "Oh, I can wipe your memories if you want that." And she says, "No, no, I want to keep the memories."
I really liked that. Like, it's very empathetic.
Yeah,
Um, really kind of somber moment in the show already, which is like already quite a. It's a very sad show.
mm-hmm.
Does it? There's like, I don't think it seems that society is in a bad place, but it definitely feels like quite bleak. The things that are happening are causing significant upset, and it seems like it's interesting. And yeah, like I really like that where he offers like, you know, we could just forget. You can just forget, and she's like, no, I just don't want to. It's I think is very humanizing in a really unique way in this circumstance. So
yeah,
yeah, super cool.
yeah. And then I think it cuts to him getting maintenance diagnostics where he's having the dream again.
Mm-hmm.
He has a wee chat with his lab technician,
His physician,
physician,
yeah,
professor.
yeah,
Basically talking about things. Oh, everything's good, but yeah, even robots can get overworked, type thing.
yeah.
So he says, maybe you shouldn't do that. Or is that?
I think it is around this point. He does. I think we're also at the point where, like, he goes to the HQ to tell them that, hey, these are the photos from the crime scenes, and that I think that's when we see the comparisons between Bernard and Mont Blanc. It's like, oh, these like this looks pretty much the same. So I think there's something going on here, and I think Gesicht's running theory is like something he didn't sense a human at the crime scene.
Yeah.
Like nobody had been there other than, you know, obviously the deceased.
Mm-hmm.
So his current working theory is basically that there's a rogue robot that is, you know, has done this, and that I think is what's called Article 13, which is a robot shall not be able to harm or kill. Like there's something has happened.
Yeah.
That.
I think that came in force 8 years, because they do mention something like, oh, like that incident 8 years ago. And that's reference again because he goes and visit the criminal. It did that thing 8 years ago in his locked up shell, in his lockup. And he's made of different alloys, so he's protected from like EMZ stuff.
Oh, yes.
Because you're a robot. Says the security guy. Yeah, I'm a robot. You need this. It's like, no, I'm okay. I'm practicing that shit. So he goes in, climbs underneath the big caltrips that they barricade this guy in with. Not like, you know, it's not like in any foreign prison. He's just like in this hole with a spear in his chest. And he talks to the guy, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, you're this model, one of the finest AI detectives models around." It's like, yeah. And then he says, "Oh, we can swap memory chips." I thought it was going to be kind of like a cycle scene.
I must admit, there's an element of Silence of the Lambs to this to me. I do think the idea of there having been an incident around a robot related murder, and a robot to that extent as well that is quite willing to continue to do that. I think that's the thing that's kind of, it's not like no accident, no sort of, it's just, you know, they would be willing to kill again. And the idea that they're sort of detained in this prison, like pinned down with the huge
spear,
like a big spear, and kind of just the tone of it is really, really interesting. It's very sinister.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's again like all beautifully shot. I think the we're watching. I mean, I presume you're watching the dub.
Yeah.
I actually think the voice casting is really good so far. Like I've loved it. I think the performances are top notch, and I really like this scene.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Was yeah, so it's basically saying that his AI got checked out and the killer's AI got checked out and there's nothing wrong with it, there's no flaws in that. I just went and did it. No regrets. Just did it.
Yeah.
Type thing. And he shared the pictures and he was like, oh, by the way, there's like the only people who'll be able to do that with these particular robots is people who are military, all military robots, and as far as we know, there's only 6 still about.
Yes.
Including
There is
ones in the
sorry,
cell. There's like
yes, that's right.
I don't know if that was like him and what's his name? This bank locked up. He's referring to.
Yeah. I think I think we've potentially gone over a bit because I feel like there's a bit where
He does go back to the Robbie's wife.
he does, but that's after this. There's a bit. Is
Yeah.
there not a bit where he talks about? I feel like he visits the scientist from the start of the show.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he goes off in the mountain. Because I remember that bit. Because the scientist at the beginning of the show was like, "Yeah, this is my block. He was loved by everyone, gentle, kind,
Yeah.
blah blah blah." And then down at the bottom of the valley, they started hearing the announcements were made at the memorial, and then like, how are you hearing that? You're at the top of the hill. That is deafening everyone down there.
But yeah, we kind of like I think there's like discussion about how they'd wanted to build a statue of Mont Blanc, and he was like, "No, I don't like. I appreciate that, but I don't think there should be a statue because it would ruin the beauty of the Alps."
Yeah.
Mont Blanc was which is again like a really fascinating character trait thing is that he was a proponent of nature and humans' interaction with it, being a robot.
Yeah.
Like he was, wanted there to be a coexistence with the planet and the Earth, and it's just really, really cool. I think there's a woman who like divulges some information about like Mont Blanc being a hero robot in the war. There's a robot war, essentially.
Yeah, there was a robot war. He was the hero. I don't know if that later though. That might be later. With the
No, I feel does that not happen at that point? And
maybe,
then like
maybe it was because there was an announcement happened when they were making the memorial for him.
yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I think she like mentions like him being like he's a poet as well, and
yeah, he was. This was before pretty much going to his physio because his physio
yeah,
mentions that he couldn't watch it all because he would just start crying. Shows how
that's
much
right.
he loved.
And the scientist like says how all the people who are like the construction workers all around there like they're not doing that for any money, they're just doing it out of like devotion to Mont Blanc.
Yeah, volunteers.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Because I think we haven't mentioned as well is that it seems like they're suggesting that it's not a murder in Mont Blanc's case. It was a tornado.
yeah. He was killed because of a tornado apparently.
Yeah.
And but the scientist says no, that's not right. You got to find the murderer for me. And he's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I think this is the bit where then he goes to the scientist for the checkup.
Yeah.
And they have that whole discussion about how he's like talking about getting some time away with his wife, and I think the guy asks him, he's like, "Have you been having that dream?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, we should talk about that the next time you're back." I also think at that point, does he not see that they're getting rid of Robbie's body.
Yeah, he comes out the building and the dumper truck's getting rid of the Robbie's body because it's going for scrap, and he didn't say anything, but he's taken aback by that. Notably,
He says he says it's junk. He
He-
refers to it as. Does he not? Does it not like trigger a memory in him?
that's yeah, that's I think that's the worker was saying that to him.
The worker's like, yeah, it's just junk.
And it does trigger a memory because he carried the space out for a bit,
Yeah.
and it had like a old guy with glasses, which I'm wondering if that's connected to later in the episode, because
I wonder.
it takes a big leap soon. So he does that, and it does that.
This is when he goes to see the maid, the Robbie's wife.
Goes back to see Robbie's wife because he's taking the chip out of the robot because the guy says, "Can I take it?" "Oh yeah, you can take anything. The body's junk." So he takes the chip and then offers, "Do you want Robbie's chip so you can have his memories?" And it's like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." He does it, and it's like, "All right, I'm going to take it out because it can be quite hard if you come in trouble." And basically, she watches it, and then she watches the death, and then she goes, "Oh." And I went, "Wait, well, that's strange." And he's like, "Well," oh, and then she's like, puts it on viewer and it sees that Robbie was distracted for a split second when the assailant came to, because he was ready, and then he picked up something jumping from the building of the murder case.
Because they did say like it was very surprising that the guy had managed to do so much damage to the robot officer.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unusual for him to take down. But they spot a speck of things. So it looks like a guy jumping from building to building, and ascertained it wasn't a robot, but wasn't human either.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Which is very interesting. And so, it leads at that. He talks to the criminal, and they were like this, and then
it's Brow 1589 is the name of that murdering robot.
Yeah.
And yeah, the kind of conversation is around like, you're right. Like he suggests exchanging the memory chips, and Gesicht shows him the photos, and he's like, "Oh yes, those horns, they remind me of the god of death." It's from a European legend, and Brow mentions Hades and Pluto.
Yeah,
and that obviously gets Gesicht quite interested. And I think he mentions as well, he's like, he'll strike again, and it's likely that the culprit, I think, as you mentioned, is like, it's probably one of these 6 high-class robots capable of mass destruction, like Gesicht.
Yeah.
And
then
then it switches up.
Yeah, it changes it to like another episode, but it's the same episode.
I don't know about you, but I'm already so in on all of this.
It's more brain food than Chargeman Ken was.
Yeah,
and you watched 65 episodes of that.
Yeah, brain rot. We go to a stately manor in the middle of the Alps, by the looks of things, or at least certainly in a mountain range.
Yeah, I think it's back in the Alps, where we meet the composer,
Duncan.
Yeah, was it Sir Peter Duncan?
I can never remember. Yeah, all I remember is he calls him Sir Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say he. We haven't introduced this character yet. But basically, it seems that Sir Duncan has been awaiting a new butler, and the one that is delivered to him is a kind of very tall, thin robot with a kind of blue cloak and long extended arms, and a face that kind of reminds me of the Battle of the Planets costume.
All right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Like the kind of red and white helmet type thing with the visor that you can't really see through, that comes down over the nose, and you just kind of see the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a wee mouth, and yeah, he's got like pokey eyes.
I love North 2,
Yeah.
which is his name.
North
Introduces himself. North number 2.
Yeah.
And Sir Duncan is like, yes, how imaginative.
Yeah.
A direction and a number.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not fans of machines for some reason.
No, in fact, he does question, because of course, him about his experience in the military, and continually questions him about his part in that same war that Mont Blanc had been a part of.
Yeah.
Although he seems reluctant to say his part in it.
Where North 2 is very intrigued in the music that composer's making, and the composer says, "You can't do it. You're a robot. You can't do these things."
Yeah.
Stop it.
He's
Stop this.
like very aggressive around. It's like, no, you can't it's not about, it's not about being right. It's about knowing the music and feeling the music, and it's interesting. This is kind of like it's probably more difficult to kind of go through this scene by scene by scene, but it's sort of like a kind of those two characters getting to know each other, and at the start, certainly Sir Duncan being very difficult and very just against anything that North 2 says or does. It's never good enough. It's never right.
I mean, I think that's more just against society, because he was like a composer, was successful in movies and stuff, and he got lots of money and that, and then apparently fell out of fashion, and he was like, "Huff, these guys don't know jack. I can still compose. I just don't want to." Is what he's basically saying, pretty much all the way through it, and then he keeps trying to write this one melody. And he keeps ending it, and you keep hearing it repeatedly slamming on the keyboard of like, "That's not right, that's not it." And then North 2 hears someone in his sleep kind of like humming the song.
Humming it.
And it's like, "I think that's the song." And he's like, "No, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about," type thing. And then it gets to like a point where Sir Duncan basically says, "You know what, I'll tell you the truth that you don't know about me. And I was an orphan from Bohemia,
yeah.
And my mother left me for some rich upstart and put me in an orphanage, and then I got really ill, and no doctor could do it, but this Japanese guy came in," which I was wondering if that might be a reference to maybe was it
to Astro Boy?
Blackjack?
Oh wow, okay. Wow, that's a deep cut.
He came in with you don't see the Japanese surgeon, and he's just a black coat person, and he was astronomical, and he was the one that sailed to save him.
To be fair though, as well, is that
Was it Blackjack?
Blackjack was a surgeon.
Yeah.
The previous works of Urasawa was Monster, which was about a Japanese surgeon in Germany. So.
Oh. Maybe.
Maybe a little bit of a hint to previous work there.
Yeah.
But he explains about his past and how he was rejected by his mother, and
the orphanage and school wasn't kind to him, and he lost his sight at an early age because of that disease and his operation. And then he's basically lived his life in kind of weird vengeance against her.
And North, basically this kind of the back and forth continues of him explaining how much he hates machines and how much he hates society. He refuses to he refuses to see, basically, because he knows it would involve machines. He doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And we get to the stage where North 2 is becoming really increasingly interested in music, and keeps trying to play the piano, but is told to stop. He can't possibly do it. Like from just frustration to just raw anger of like even the audacity that a machine would try to tell a composer how a piece of music would go.
I mean, it's don't know, it's kind of that way inclined, I suppose, but I think it's just basically says, no, you won't be able to put a soul into it type thing.
Yeah, but I like I say, is I think you're right to a degree as well, where it's kind of this. There's a lot of self-doubt in him that he is worried that it will be right.
Yeah,
because he, the great composer, who is now, I think we see him at a certain point in this episode like fielding phone calls from prospective people looking to work with him, and it's not for any of his new stuff. It's all for his work from years ago, and how he's now worried about being a has-been who can't create anything new and anything beautiful anymore.
Yeah. So at that point, he's essentially tried to fire North 2 twice. So
he's like, just get out.
Get rid of this.
And he's like, I see you've decided not to go.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And then he disappears for some time, and he's like, oh, he must have gone. He must have taken the hint now. And then that's when he gets phone calls. And then North 2 comes back and basically goes, I was away. Yeah, I know. Why are you back? And it's like, well, I actually went to your hometown, Bohemia, and I found this old guy who told me that the tune that you're playing was from this young lady, and this young lady is actually your mother, and she's actually was always looking out for you, type thing. And then they played the tune, and it's like, oh yeah, that's it. And then he completed his. He then agreed for North to stay with him, and he will teach him piano at that point. And then
does he not ask if he can sing it for him?
I think North said, "Can I sing it to you?" And he finally does it after telling the story.
Yeah, I really like that scene actually.
Yeah,
I think it's I'll be honest, like I really love the relationship between Sir Duncan and North too, like that kind of, willingness to serve and just wanting to be a part of something. And I think it's like for North too, like in particular, the idea that, Sir Duncan is so insistent about him telling him about, well, how many other robots have you killed? What has your weapon of a body done? And he's like, well, I don't ever want to go back to the battlefield.
Yeah, I don't.
Because it's not what I want.
I don't want to be known for my battlefield work.
No, and I really like that. That narrative is that here you have like, it's like the kind of comes back to that sort of the here's what you're made for. So you should, that determinism of like you were made to do this, so you'll do this, and like North's just refusal to accept that. It's just because he knows it's not what he wants to do. Like it's that feeling that he has. It's really, really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the same for Sir Duncan. In that aspect, he doesn't want to be just known for those movies. He wants to be known for other things as well.
Exactly, and they share that common thing is that they don't want to be known by their pasts. They want to be defined by their actions at present. And after North 2 reveals to him, like, you were never abandoned. Your mother cared for you, and they kind of are able to form more of a relationship and bond together. And we see like them kind of like digging out the snow, and like the snow falling on top of North 2 and piling up, and Sir Duncan finding that hilarious.
Yeah.
And we see them spending time together and him learning piano, and it's nice. Like it's just genuinely nice.
Yeah. Just note that before North 2 came back at that point, he was showing his self-doubt, of like, I can still compose, I just don't want to. And then it's like,
Yes.
well, maybe I can't compose now.
Yep. You're right. Yeah. He gets to that point where he's like, he's justifying it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I can still do this. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
And he's like, but yeah, what if I do want to and I can't? And that's what's happening here. And I think like that maybe does resonate a little bit with him enough to kind of be like, oh yeah, I want to be known for who I am now. Like I don't want to be just defined by who I was.
Mm-hmm. And then he also goes into the part of his hatred with his mother was like he bought the castle. This is the castle is her mother's rich lover had, who basically for some reason didn't like stay with her. But it turns out his mother actually went with him so she could pay for the medical bills to get him better.
Yep.
Anyways, that's that. And then he finally finishes his melody and calls for North 2 to come listen to it. And
come and listen.
But then North 2 says, oh, I can't. Not now. There's something coming towards us.
And it's not good.
I did hear about the Mont Blanc, so we've now set the start of this kind of like tale in the past of all the previous events, and it's worked on because it went through seasons, so maybe a year or two. And then he kind of goes out and detects this thing coming. So this is coming. Mont Blanc was partly killed by a tornado. There's a tornado coming. It was 10 kilometers away.
Yeah, it was really close.
Yeah.
This is his Sir Duncan's like, don't go, and he's like, and he says, don't worry, I'll be back soon.
Yeah.
I'll hear it then.
Yeah. And then he has to go. So he goes.
Yeah.
And takes off his cloak, shows all his like weapons that he still has, and still have bullets in them apparently.
Yep.
Maybe. Don't know. Don't see the fight.
Maybe.
And and they fly into the big storm cloud. He drops his legs off, disconnects his legs, and fly into the
and
storm
sort
cloud.
of like flies upwards. Yeah.
And
there's a kind of some sort of battle that I think is happening, but we're not privy to, and Sir Duncan can hear it happening, but obviously can't see what's going on.
It's like thunder flying out this cloud, and there's a big explosion, and he was saying stuff. I can't remember what he was saying, but like he was basically saying, "You're a good boy," type thing, as this big flaming ball of fire is just
he can hear it. He can hear North too singing the melody.
Yeah.
As that fireball is falling to the ground, and he realizes that North 2 is no more.
Yeah. Well, we believe he is. We don't know. We don't know.
We don't. Yeah, I guess like that's. Sir Duncan is crying because he fears that his new companion has died.
Yeah, there's certainly a big fireball arcing away from the castle further into the mountains. It's falling out the cloud after the big massive battle in the sky. Yeah,
it definitely doesn't look good. Put it that way.
Yeah. And then
I think that whole sequence is so incredibly handled. It again looks gorgeous, and I think the narrative around him finally being able to hear that piece that he helped him put together, and like feeling like he is now going to be known for what he did. But North 2 not really being able to get that chance.
Yeah, and after that it's cuts away back to
Gesicht.
Yeah. And a couple of kids going to school. With run by him in the rain, and then this other kid's kicking a stone, and then he goes, finds a snail, picks up the snail, puts it back, and then Gesicht goes, "Oh, I see you found the snail." It's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, I did. I believe you're also called Adam."
Atom.
Atom.
Yep.
And then the boy looks up with red eyes in his Google, and episode ends. And
Yeah.
that's the face on the title card, man.
I struggled not to just watch the next one.
It was good. I was enthralled. Oh, I'm not going to lie. It certainly. But like I said to you earlier, I don't know if that's because I watched Chargeman Ken for 2 months.
Well, I think it's an interesting point. This is basically we've been other than like Dragon Ball, which we've been watching as well, which is kind of fun and good. Like I think Pluto is really genuinely a cut above.
Yeah,
Like it is like
definitely. It's definitely a good excuse. It's thoroughly enthralled me. Dragon Ball is. Yeah, Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball.
Well, I think like we said is that Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, they might not be the best shows ever, but they're certainly like probably the most influential.
Yeah.
So if anything, like I can enjoy them for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pluto. Like, I will read you a review that I think is quite encapsulating of my opinions. It says Pluto is another masterclass in storytelling by Naoki Urasawa, and the adaptation is nothing less than that. An incredible story told with such care, and bravo to everyone who worked on this amazing show. Like, that's very much my opinion on it. Is I was very emotionally invested from like the get. I think Gesicht is a really interesting and unique character. The story of North 2 and Sir Duncan genuinely upset me. Like it's so sad. It's such a sad story.
It is.
Yeah, I loved it.
They built it
Absolutely
well.
loved it.
Just for the final half hour or 40 minutes of the show, they built that bit well. Certainly, this is the first half of it. Certainly laid the concept that robots aren't as cold-hearted beings in this universe. They have feelings, they have dreams, they have relationships. They basically are just another form.
They're people.
Humans,
in every other sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know how much in this world it hasn't really been portrayed as such as they're essentially enslaved. They are certainly enslaved to the point where they aren't allowed to kill humans.
Yeah. There's a safety mechanism, so there's like a lack of trust there. Obviously, as we've seen why, I guess.
Yeah.
But they seem to have like lives.
Yeah.
They work. They have relationships, like you said. It's so like there's something there, for definite.
Yeah. So, here's the question.
Okay.
Who done it?
I don't know.
I think.
I don't know.
I think Gesicht. It was him.
You think so?
Yeah, it was totally him. He has a secondary co-op life, man, killing these things, and he doesn't know it.
You think that's what the dreams are?
That's what the dreams are, man. He's been brainwashed.
Oh man.
Or he's going to die at the end of it.
I hope not. I was genuinely very sad at the loss of North 2. I thought really liked the performance of that character. Just like as this kind of gentle giant was super cool. Also immediately saddened by the death of Mont Blanc, a robot I never heard talk or have anything about. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, man, that sucks.
This reminded me a bit of Nier Automata.
Automata?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of some of the robot designs and stuff.
Yeah, have that kind of vibe.
Well, mainly Mount Blanc, to be honest.
Okay. The next big question is, though, Colin, is how do you rate this?
How do I rate this? I'm going to say an 8. Certainly up there. First episode, 8. That's pretty good.
Fair. I am straight in at the gate a 10.
Going with the 10, yeah.
Yeah, like this is everything I want in not just anime. I think that's the thing as well, is I think it's like it's very easy to be dismissive of things and talk about them as just anime. And like, well, that's not, you know, specifically insulting or anything like that. I think some things in a medium as anime are definitely better.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily need to see a live action Trigun or Chainsaw Man. I think those are perfectly good the way they are. But in this example, like, Pluto to me is a beautiful example of how you build a world and how you like just pull in a viewer immediately. You like, I am like straight away felt levels of empathy for characters, and the depth of their personalities was really endearing, and like it looks and sounds incredible as well. There's nothing half-assed about it. It just looks amazing and is amazing. But if you gave me something with that level of emotional investment and that much a unique and interesting plot in any medium, I'd immediately be drawn into it. I think it just so happens that in this case it's an anime.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good show, man. It's isn't watered down by the fact that it's an anime. It's maybe enhanced more because you can get your crazy robot designs and stuff, and you don't need the CGI and stuff to create that world as much. Yeah, I just I don't know. Selling it as a 10 straight up is like there's no room for movement. Huh?
Oh, like the thing is that I think even if the rest of the show doesn't live up to that, like I could hold that piece of media, that first episode, and just say, is like, do you want to see like a perfect episode of television, like a perfect episode where like you like you said, it draws you in, it invests you, you get glimpses of the world, you understand the narrative, it teases and pulls at you. It gives you characters that are highly empathetic. It lets you build relationships with people that are barely there, like very, very quickly. And I don't think it does it in any sort of in a way that feels like it's taking advantage of your senses or anything. I think it feels very genuine. They build they very, very quickly build a sense of genuine empathy and sympathy with a lot of characters, which I think is not an easy thing to do. So to do it so effectively and evocatively, I think is just proper perfection.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think I think an 8 is good for me.
I think that's fair. Like, and I think the thing is I think I hope that there'll be a good payoff to this, and I am like genuinely really curious to see where this goes. And I think like I'm, if anything, like if I wanted to like distill it down to, I think even that sort of mini narrative of half of the episode around Sir Duncan and North 2, I think is just, if you had given that to me as like here's a short story about these two characters, I would just have devoured that. Like, it's perfect. It's such a great narrative.
Yeah.
But to wrap that in the story that I think is already really good, in a world that's already kind of interesting, and pull that in even further, it's just really cool.
It seems weird though. Like I say, I think this issue would have worked in a 2-episode format. Like,
I guess so. I think the benefit though is that you get the hook of like, here's the thing, and you're like, holy crap, this is where we are, and then it cuts, and then you kind of like, you're thinking for a good bit of it, you're like, what? Okay, like I'll go along with this, but what is happening?
What's this got to do with the rest of it?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it hits, where it's like, oh, we never left this place. Like, we were always here. Like, in this world, we were always in this narrative. This wasn't an escape. this was like a build up to something, and to like provide that additional context in a way. And I feel like in order to make that hit harder, I feel like that had to be done in a continuous line. I think it had to be that impact. I think the impact is softened if you leave it and then come back to that episode that's nothing to do with it, and you're like, weren't we here?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But before we call this to a close, either way, I would, however, like to read you one of the reviews I read on Rotten Tomatoes.
Another
one. This one is not complimentary.
Oh, all right.
This is 0.5 star out of 5.
Yeah.
The anime tries to paint itself as thought-provoking and emotional, but the way it tries is shallow and almost juvenile. With barely a thread of mystery to draw the audience, we're dragged along the cheap, shallow, and very long narrative. Not recommended.
All right.
And like I looked at that and I was like, that is almost the opposite reaction I had to that. Like, I don't think there's any pseudo-intellectualism here. Like, obviously, there's very high thought topics around, what constitutes life, what doesn't, where's the control over robots, what is a robot, what is all these questions around perception of reality and free will. I think are inevitably happen in a show about robots.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think it's cheap. I definitely don't think it's shallow. I think it might be shallow in the way that it doesn't just cram it down your throat.
Yeah.
It's just there.
I don't know. Is that for the whole show or just for the first episode?
That's for the whole series.
Yeah. Maybe it changes.
I mean, maybe it gets really bad.
Yeah.
That's not the suggestion that I've read by the number of reviews of the episodes specifically, though.
Yeah.
The star ratings stay consistently above 8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Oh well.
With a couple of them heading into 9 territory.
Well, all we can do is wait and see.
Yeah, because we'll be back next week to talk a bit more Pluto, which means you've been listening to Who's That Anime, an anime podcast all about, suspiciously, anime.
Is it?
So I'm told. I don't want to get too deep into it.
You fooled me. Fooled me again.
Fool me once, fool me twice. But you can find us at our home, anchor.fm/Who's That Anime, and we can be found where all good podcasts can be found. If you want to support the show, a super cool way to do that is to leave a review. If you've already done that, or you can't due to the way you listen to the show, then if you like what it is we do, supporting us by telling a friend is also a really cool way to help us out. We have a Facebook page, that's facebook.com/Who's That Anime. We post the occasional anime meme and the latest episode releases. We have a Discord group. You can find the link for that in the show notes. We also have YouTube, where Colin painstakingly puts together the video versions of these episodes. We also have the podcast RSS feed in there now too, so you can listen to podcasts on YouTube if that is your desire. Colin and I also occasionally play video games, and we do so at twitch.tv/couchfuel for Colin and twitch.tv/hailpayman for myself. You can also find archives of all the content and streams we've done for those by going to youtube.com, and you can search for @couchfuel or @hailpayman. And lastly, we've very recently released a Patreon for the show. If you want to support us in that kind of way, you're absolutely welcome to. By subscribing to the Patreon, you'll be able to get episodes earlier than you would before, and obviously you'll be able to listen to our new podcast a little bit earlier, which is 5 Minute Fusion, our journey through Dragon Ball and everything Dragon Ball related. So yeah, like that's a cool way to support us. We'd really appreciate anything. But to clarify as well, as the show will forever remain ad-free, there is no intention to have that. You will be able to listen to them free, as you always have on the normal channels. You can just get a little bit of an earlier access if you want to support us in that way.
Yeah.
And that's us.
Yeah, sweet. Not bad. It's a bit longer than our normal episodes of Chargeman Ken.
Yep.
Only, what?
Those were definitely getting shorter.
Yeah. And then they got long again in the last one.
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah. Anyway, that's us for today.
Yeah.
We're done.
We are.
We are.
We'll be back next time.
Yeah, same Army place, same Army time, same Pluto discussion, whether it's a planet, or whether it's a dwarf planet, whether it's not a planet. That's the discussion that I'm going to have about Pluto.
I mean, that's fair. Do you know it has never, since its discovery, it has not gone round the sun once?
Yeah, it is far out there, man.
That's why they were saying that.
Yeah, they were talking about Pluto.
Far out, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Ciao.
Bye, folks.
Bye.